mountains, aye, man, woman, proud, Vincent, hands up high, and let me hear you say.
Vincent me come from, and I will never sell out my heritage.
Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Honorable Julian Francis, Minister of Urban Development, Energy, Airports, Seaports, Grenadines Affairs and Local Government, the Honorable Orlando Brewster, Minister of Housing, Social Development, etc., the Honorable Rennie Batiste, Senator in the House of Assembly and current Speaker of the Regional OECS Assembly, His Excellency Steve Moore, Resident British High Commissioner, British High Commission here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Isaac Solomon, Vice President Operations, Caribbean Development Bank, other platform personnel, permanent secretaries, heads of departments and statutory bodies, other senior public servants, chairman of the HLDC, guests, members of the media, and those who are listening on radio or viewing online, good afternoon. We are here to witness the handing over of keys to these lovely properties constructed by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for residents of Rose Place. Please give a round of applause. As much as I'm looking forward to the speeches and the context behind this project, I am most anticipating the faces of individuals collecting keys to homes, because I understand in our Vincentian context what home ownership means. This project is a very significant one, as it is just the first phase of a much larger project, the construction of a modern port in Kingstown. The relocation of the individuals who currently live in the site or the site where the port will be constructed to this site represents a paradigm shift from what occurred years ago. And we saw examples of this when the Argyle International Airport was being constructed, as individuals were relocated to make way for the airport. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines believes in decency of existence, believes in humanity, And so whenever projects are taking place, whenever individuals are being relocated by this government, every care is taken to ensure that those residents are relocated in places that is befitting the nobility of individuals of this Vincentian civilization. This is a momentous occasion, and I'm happy that you are all here. And let me welcome you and hope that you enjoy this afternoon's proceedings. And I'm told that at the end of the proceedings this evening, there is someone here on site who will be able to take those who are interested on a little walk through so that you can see what is in store here at Lowmans Bay. We'd get into the speeches, and at this point, I would invite Mr. Lenski Douglas. Mr. Douglas is the Assistant Project Manager of the Port Modernization Project. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. With protocol having already been established, good afternoon to all present here and those tuned in via media. What we're here witnessing today, this afternoon, is the substantial completion of construction component of the resettlement project, which was designed to resettle residents of Rose Place who lived on the beachfront on or before March 30th of 2019. It's an important milestone in the onward march for the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to deliver modernized port facilities in Kingston as part of the Port Modernization Project. Prior to the commencement of works on site here, the Port Modernization Project executed a resettlement consultancy towards the development of a resettlement action plan to guide discussions on how project-affected persons will be addressed. We will recall the exercise of compensating vendors to relocate their activities from the seawall in Kingston during May of 2020. The 28 structures constructed here in Lowmans Bay are to accommodate the project-affected residents. We will next be moving towards addressing the shops operated on the Rose Place beachfront, then the fisherfolk and storage unit owners. Yes, as you look around, there is still some additional work to be done on site here. There's a stretch of road to be extended to allow for better traffic circulation on site and a retaining wall to support the main road above the 3-bedroom structures to the front of the site location. And most importantly, we have to have the utilities, electricity and water connected in the name of the new occupants. But today, we witness the result of focused work of our main contractor, the Housing Land Development Corporation, which spanned over the past 16 months, a time period which commenced before the associated disruptions of COVID-19 and included the April 2021 eruptions of La Soufrière. Marvelous work has been done and marvelous outcomes have been accomplished. Our initial project cost was $4.47 million EC. By the time we're completed, it's estimated that we would have spent 4.8 million EC dollars. By way of structural details, a total of 28 structures are on site, comprising a mix of 1- and 2-bedroom duplexes, along with standalone 3-bedroom structures. A 1-bedroom unit is 320 square feet. A 2-bedroom unit is 500 square feet. A 3-bedroom unit is 725 square feet. All units have bathroom, bedroom, an open kitchen and sitting room, veranda, tile shower, internal plumbing and electrical connection, paved road access throughout the site. Because our project-affected resident population included persons with physical challenge, pre-selected structures on site were built specially for these individuals. Some affected residents had a house shop unit in Rose Place. Partially elevated structures strategically placed on site were built to allow for future expansion and continued operation of their business. These structures represent improved living conditions by far compared to living on the beach, having to listen to the sound of pongling waves, especially when there is a bad weather advisory. Much improved sanitation conditions and privacy as well. This construction project also created much needed employment, directly and indirectly, for over 210 suppliers providing the necessary employment relief at such a critical time. Consultation activities with the project-affected residents ensured that their input into the process can be heard as we attempt to manage and mitigate the social impacts. It was the project-affected residents who decided that the best way of distributing these housing units will be to have a random selection event. This event we concluded at the Kingston Methodist Church Hall on Wednesday, the 26th of January. After today's event, the transition to the residents occupying these facilities commenced. Both communities stand to benefit from this development. The road repair works and installation of additional street lights are some of the immediate benefits already realized for the Lowmans Bay community, improving safety and ease of access. When the previously occupied structures on the beach at Rose Place are demolished and cleared away, the Rose Place community too will see benefits. In closing, the input of all the teams, suppliers, individuals into making this event today a reality is much appreciated, especially the efforts of over the past week by VINLEC, CWSA, and the HLDC. We are to mark this one down as another major accomplishment to the housing revolution and the implementation of a socially sensitive construction project as the government seeks to improve lives and livelihoods and deliver modern port facilities through the Kingston Port Modernization Project. Congratulations to the recipients of these housing units. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lenski, Mr. Douglas, who is the Assistant Project Manager here at the Port Modernization Project. Thank you very much. One of the things that we must point out with regards to this project is that, as Lenski said, and I'm not sure if you got it, but let me reinforce it, that all during COVID, this project didn't stop. And there are many countries across the world that did shutdowns and lockdowns, curfews that prevented work from happening, but this construction went on. And after the brief pause as a result of the eruption, we had work continuing so that today these individuals can be having keys to their properties. The minister responsible for airports and seaports is here. And I'll now welcome the Honorable Julian Francis to the podium to address you on this project.
Didn't realize the answer short. I want to adopt the protocol that has already been established and to say a pleasant, peaceful evening to all who are in attendance. Welcome to the new city, the new village in Lowmans Bay. This event is quite nostalgic to me. Having been Minister of Housing for 10 years, in the first 2 terms of this Unity Labour Party administration. And I recall the days when there was no COVID, where you can only have a limited number of persons present. Today, I am told that the number that was given to this ceremony was 75 persons. In days gone by, when we opened and handed over keys to recipients of houses that we have built, you had hundreds and thousands in certain areas viewing the event and being there to cheer you on. It's indeed completely different atmosphere. But we have to learn to live with COVID, and we have to be guided by the protocols established. We have established early and beyond, more so in those 10 years that I was Minister of Housing, similar housing projects. P.T. Bodell, Fitzhughes, Peters Hope, Green Hill, Edinburgh, Brighton, Diamond, Sanssouci, Connery, South Rivers, Byra. Those are places where we have built in excess in each of those a minimum of 30, 35. Some go up to as high as 75 and 80. And today, they are still being kept well by the residents and very much appreciated for the efforts of this administration. The project team, which is called the Project Management Committee, Project Management Unit, is currently headed by Laura Anthony Brown, and the assistant project manager is the gentleman who preceded me. Lenski Douglas has been at the helm of this in that administrative capacity since the start, the discussions. I basically joined this just over a year ago. Prime Minister before me was Minister of Ports. But Lenski and his team, and I want them to be recognized this afternoon. Where's the rest of your team, Lenski? All those members of team, Port Project Management Unit, they're at the back there, you can see them. And I want you to put your hands together for them for a wonderful job that they have done here. Housing and Land Development Corporation, under the chairmanship of Sutherland, Mr. What's his first name again? Dominic Sutherland, and the general manager, Mr. Aline, Kenyatta Aline. I was trying to remember the first name, but the African part of it, you know, I don't have a lot of problems with that. They, in about a year, if you subtract the non-working days because of COVID, have produced for you 47 units here in Lowmans. 2-bedroom units, 1-bedroom units, 3-bedroom units. And I think they've done a wonderful job despite the setbacks that we have had over the last 18 months. And again, I want you to put your hands together for Housing and Land Development Corporation. Not to forget, sitting at the back here is the Minister of Housing, who oversaw this project from December of 2020. And Honorable Orlando Brewster, the Minister of Housing. What you are seeing here is basically in the DNA of this Unity Labour Party government. I heard recently the parliamentary representative for West Kingstown, Honorable Daniel Cummins, was on radio, and he himself joined in congratulating the work that was done here. The quality, the presentation, and doing things in the interest of persons. But I wish that he had kept it at just the congratulations, because he went on to say that if the financiers did not say so and make it a prerequisite, that such development would not have taken place. I want to establish that as spoiling the congratulatory remarks that he made on the development. I'll give you 2 examples of how this Unity Labour Party government operates. When the stadium project started years ago, there were what we call squatters all over the land. The government did a survey, got the names of all the occupants, paid them for their structures, and offered them land at reduced price within the diamond development. And that's years and years ago. And I will move from the lowly ones to the higher ones. When we built Argyle International Airport, we assumed and purchased about 140 built properties, 400 land properties. What did we do? We looked for suitable lands for these occupants and the persons that we have paid their properties for. We told them they can go and take out the windows, take out the rafters, whatever in the house structure is useful, they can have it. We put the infrastructure in place in 3 locations for them. And these were middle to upper class persons. And we are talking Carapan, Diamond, and Harmony Hall. Put the infrastructure in place, developed the lots, and sold them at reduced price, the market price. So it is not something that is uncommon. Almost every month of the year, this Unity Labour Party is carrying out, government is carrying out an exercise of this nature, not as large as this, but it might be 3 persons who have been, homes have been destroyed by fire. Might have been somebody, a landslide came down and smashed their house. So when I say it is in the DNA, this forms part of the Unity Labour Party government. This setting is a beautiful setting. If you stay here, you can see Fort Charlotte. And if you go up to Fort Charlotte, you can take a nice, beautiful picture of down here. If you stay here, you can see the Leeward Highway over Camden Park and going into Cattell's. And you can take a photograph from over there. The residents who are going to be occupying these lots, I want to ask them, as the parliamentary representative for West Kingstown, Daniel Cummins, did, to take care of this property. Take care of your units, manage it well, control your garbage. Special facilities, I'm sure, will be put in place by the project management unit and HLDC for disposal of garbage, and arrangements made with CWSA. Prior to us building here, this was almost what should have been a forest reserve, was almost a dumping ground. Construction material from all over the country were being dumped between the trees, including business people who had heavy equipment and the likes, chose here as a dumping ground. And the chief surveyor advised that this is a suitable place to build, and the cabinet decided, let us clean it up, get rid of all the garbage, and put this wonderful village here for the residents of Rose Place, Bottom Town. I want to welcome again all of you. Spread the word. Talk to the people who are going to be occupying these. Because of COVID, we couldn't have all the occupants here. I think we allowed, Lensky, 10? 10. Just 10 such representatives. And as Lensky advised, physical keys will not be handed over today. All the electricity connections are made, but there's no juice in the wires. All the Vinlec conduits are in, not all the meters, but there's no water. It is a matter that each resident would then have to make. We are getting the connections, and the residents have to make the arrangements with the utility companies to get it registered in their name. Each cabin, each unit is numbered on the door, and your meter is already there, matching that number. So you go to the utility company and you say, I have unit 21B at Lowmans Bay. I come to pay for my connection and get my electricity. So congratulations to all who are involved, and I'm very pleased to be part of this ceremony this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Francis. And I have always been short. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. That's me right there. Okay. All right. One of the partners of this project is the government of the United Kingdom. And this afternoon, we are honored to have the presence of His Excellency Steve Moore, who is the British High Commissioner resident here in Kingstown. Let's welcome His Excellency Steve Moore to the podium to speak with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So protocol having been already established, I just want to wish you all a good afternoon or evening. The UK government is pleased to be part of the handing over ceremony for homes constructed under the Port Modernisation project to accommodate affected residents from Rose Place. We commend the government of St Vincent and the Grenadines for prioritising the resettlement and relocation of the components for this project, despite the challenges imposed by the volcanic eruption last year and the ongoing COVID pandemic. We greatly appreciate the government's collaborative, open and proactive approach in achieving this key milestone of this socially and economically transformative project. The UK remains committed to supporting a more resilient, prosperous, inclusive and safe Caribbean, and so we are proud to support this port project, which will help St Vincent and the Grenadines better withstand climate and economic shocks and transform the lives of its people. We look forward to seeing the construction of the new cargo ports and road improvement works, which will enhance the accessibility and efficiency of cargo port services. But today we wish the new residents of Lowmans Bay great success as you settle into your new homes and your new community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, Your Excellency. The Caribbean Development Bank is also a partner in this project, and one of our sons of the soil, who is making his contribution regionally, no doubt I'm sure is proud that the institution is associated with the project, but more so is proud to be a part of it in such a personal way. Let me welcome Mr. Isaac Solomon to the podium.
Thank you very much, Sian. Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Your Excellency Steve Moore, Resident British High Commissioner to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Julian Francis, Minister of Urban Development, Honorable Orlando Brewster, Minister of Housing, Lenski Douglas, Assistant Project Manager, other distinguished persons on the platform and in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the President and staff of the Caribbean Development Bank, I wish to convey our warmest greetings to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines on this occasion of the official handing over ceremony for homes constructed to accommodate residents of Rose Place who will be displaced as a result of the Kingstown Port project. It gives me great pleasure to participate in this ceremony and to witness the progress that has been made to date on this aspect of the port modernization project. The handing over of these new homes to the residents of Rose Place at this site, I'm sure will provide a sense of pride. And as the occupants settle into their new homes, which are well appointed with modern amenities, I too want to join Minister Francis in urging them to cherish the beauty of this location. And I believe I can speak authoritatively to the beauty of this area, having grown up not too far away from here. And if the memories I have of this area are anything to go by, I know that you, the residents, will absolutely love it. The bank is pleased that the opportunity afforded to households which have been affected by the port modernization project will contribute to improving their living standards and quality of life. This intervention aligns seamlessly with the bank's poverty reduction mandate. From the early stages of the project, environmental and social impact and climate vulnerability assessments were undertaken in a participatory manner to identify any risks that were likely to affect the overall outcome. The risk of excluding vulnerable project-affected persons, including women and persons with disabilities, from the decision-making and information-sharing process were identified from the inception. In this regard, and in keeping with good development practice, the bank specialists, along with those of the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office assigned to the UK Caribbean Infrastructure Partnership Fund, work closely with primary in-country stakeholders, including government ministries and agencies and community-based organizations, to strengthen the established participatory framework and to hear the voices and diverse perspectives of those to be affected by the intervention. This approach assisted in mitigating any potential negative impact by ensuring that stakeholders were engaged in their communities. Consultations were convened with men, women, small business owners, and operators at times during the day when they were available to fully participate in the project, sharing their views and voicing any concerns. We wish to recognize the early support of the Rose Place community representative in the process, which was instrumental in providing opportunities for CDB and the UKSIF staff to gain a better understanding and appreciation for the community's socioeconomic circumstances, thereby encouraging buy-in for the intervention. We stand here today at this ceremony in witness of the positive outcome of those series of discussions. Homeowners, we are thrilled that brand new homes and a safe and healthy community are being provided for you. Even as that is done, the project will establish a subcommittee to respond to your needs as you settle into your new residences as part of the ongoing support to ensure you are comfortable in your new surroundings. We look forward to you reestablishing your strong sense of community in Lowmans, similar to that which existed in Rose Place, and we are confident that you will enjoy the benefits of the improved infrastructure and amenities that are now available to you. For us at the CDB, we will continue to support the project implementation team in applying the principles of the bank's safeguard policy enunciated through its environmental and social review procedures and its gender equality policy and operational strategy. This is necessary to support the realization of the development dividends that are expected to accrue to project stakeholders and St. Vincent and the Grenadines overall. CDB now looks forward to the start of the construction activities on the port infrastructure itself and wishes to assure the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that the bank will provide its full support to facilitate the speedy implementation of this critical infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for giving the bank the opportunity to participate in this ceremony and to address you here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Isaac Solomon. And I know you must have fond memories. Even while I was here, I was hearing people talking about memories of, although one individual said that their memory spans 40 years back. Others, even today, I was speaking with someone who lives in Lowmans, and they were saying that they remember what the beach was like, and this was their major beach. The project affected individuals will be moving here shortly, would now have this beautiful beach as their own. We would now be having a musical interlude by Mr. Delano Bristol of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force.
And who are viewing us on the API channel, as well as the various Facebook pages, NBC, VC3, and YouTube pages. Good afternoon to you and welcome. You are viewing the handing over ceremony for the houses to residents of Rose Place who were affected by the port modernization project. This project got started in September 21st, 2020. That's the building of the houses. And today is January 31st, 2022. Just over a year after that, closer to a year and a half, and we are here handing over the houses to these residents. As Minister Julian Francis hinted to before, that the building of houses for persons who are affected by projects here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is not something that is new to this government. And he mentioned some of the major areas where government would have built houses to relocate persons. And he did mention the Malin Village project, but the mother of all projects, I believe, the Agad International Airport, where they had to develop housing areas in Carapan, Diamond, Harmony Hall, and put in the infrastructure, sold them to the residents at way reduced prices so that they can be comfortably relocated. Now, this site that we are viewing, it's one of the most beautiful sites in Lowmans. And when we listen to Minister Francis, you learn that this area, which should have been a forest reserve, was being used basically as a dump. And the persons, including business people, were using it as a dump. But once the recommendation was made that it can be used for building purposes for the relocation of these houses, they had it cleaned up, and the rest is history. He congratulated all involved in the project for the good work that they would have done. He, however, indicated that the actual keys would not be handed over today, as the homeowners now would have to make arrangements with the various utility companies to have connections registered in their name. So even though the infrastructure is here, the actual connection, for example, the water connection, electricity connection to the various houses, they will have to go to the utility companies to have those done. Now, the government is not alone in this project. You have project partners, and you have the Caribbean Development Bank, which was represented here today by Mr. Isaac Solomon, the Vice President of Operations at CDB. And you also have the United Kingdom government represented here by His Excellency Steve Moore, the resident British High Commissioner here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So the musical interlude is finished, and we're going to go back to the stage side for
Thank you very much
our
for that medley.
Host, Mr. Ian Marshall.
Mr. Delano Bristol of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. As he was playing, I noticed that Prime Minister Gonzalez started tapping his feet, and I kind of got a little worried when I realized we may not be featured with the Comrades Kank today, but maybe another time. Not today. Just as an announcement, there are 2 washrooms available for use. 8B, I think it is, in this house right here, and one in the purple for use. The one in the purple for use by the general guests, and the platform personnel and others would use that one in, I'm not sure if it's brown or peach, I'm not sure, I'm colorblind. Sorry.
Okay, so the next voice we would hear coming up is that of the Honorable Dr. Ralph E. Gonsalves, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who would be doing the feature address. So that would be the next voice you would hear after Mr. Marshall, and then you'll have the presentation to recipients of the housing units. So we're going to take you back to the stage to Mr. Sion Marshall.
Houses being built. We've seen our students being educated, and I was thinking, I was really expecting on hearing Senator Francis use the word revolution, but he didn't. The housing revolution. And this is the only way we can describe what is happening and what has happened to housing over the last 21 or so years. To speak to us on the master plan and how things are fitting together. You know, for those of you who remember that program back then, the A-Team, one person would always say, I love it when a plan comes together. And we are seeing the plan, the national plan, the master plan coming together under the leadership of Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves. Let's make him feel welcome as he addresses us at the podium.
Mr. Chairman, Cabinet colleagues, British representatives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, our dear friend Steve Moore and Isaac Solomon, Vice President of the Caribbean Development Bank, the permanent secretaries who are here, Laura Anthony Brown, the chairman of the Housing and Land Development Corporation, Dominic Sutherland, and my brother Skakes Kenyatta Aline, the Linsky Douglas, who's very active in this project, and of course, the representatives of those who are going to receive houses and other distinguished persons who are present here, including the media. And I'm hopeful that the many things I will speak about today, touching and concerning housing and the port, and the way this ties in with the building, the construction, the quest for the building of a modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy, which is at once local, national, regional, and global. And I hope also that the state agencies will take out a lot of information which I will give this evening, and don't tell me that all they do is stream what I said, and then because people ain't going to be able to sit down and listen to 40 minutes of me talking or whatever time. People want to get information in bits and pieces. So I don't have to tell professionals how to do their job, but sometimes it's necessary and desirable for me to talk in this manner. Sion pointed out the broad developmental frame in which all what we are doing and have done over the last 21 years is a quest to develop, to build a modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy which is at once local, national, regional, and global. And every single one of those words, every single formulation in that quest is pregnant with real meaning. And we see the manifestations over the period of time. What we have been having is a paradigm shift between a colonial and an amended colonial economy to one which is post-colonial and modern. Now, between 1763 and up to the time of universal adult suffrage in 1951, and in the years immediately thereafter, the economy and society of this country was based on a dominant agricultural commodity. Sugar, tobacco, for a short while before sugar arrived, arrowroot, cotton in the early 20th century, sugar fell, sugar was revived, it jostled with arrowroot as the dominant crop into the 1960s until the sugar industry collapsed in 1962. And then from the mid-1950s, bananas began to emerge and became the dominant crop until immediately after 1993, when Britain entered the single market and economy. And we see that the preferences in the marketplace began to be eroded, and into the early 20th century, we see their complete extinction. Now, there were certain features which you can identify in the colonial economy and an amended colonial economy thereafter in the early stages of nationalist government under Joshua and Cato. First of all, production was subsidized locally and preferences were in the marketplace externally. That is one important feature. The second feature is that the technology which was utilized was very basic, and there was not an interest in allowing technology to do the work in production. For instance, the cutlass and the 5PO were very dominant. But most critical of all, in the colonial economy and in the amended colonial economy, it was based on unlimited supplies of unskilled and therefore cheap labor. In the period between 1763 to 1838, that labor was unfree, was slave labor. Thereafter, in the 1840s into the 50s, indentured laborers came from Madeira. And a little later, indentured laborers from India. And the former slaves were paid very low wages between 1838 and 1938. 100 years. There was no increase in wages. You hear me? When I talk about the colonial economy and the amended one and the post-colonial economy, I'm talking about things which are very different and distinct. Immiseration was the order of the day in the colonial economy and in the amended colonial economy, which existed in real terms right up to the declining years of the 20th century. But as we say in cricket, a fresh guard had to be taken. And in building a post-colonial economy, its foundation has to be on, and the quest has to be, in building it, on unlimited supplies of skilled and educated labor, priced at a higher level in the chain of the International Division of Labor. That post-colonial economy, given the nature of monopoly capitalism, you cannot expect, in the way in which neoliberalism moved, to get anything other than, quote-unquote, free trade. There is no nostalgia for market preferences. Anybody, and I see people write in the newspapers, the Vincent carries some people who write on a weekly basis with a nostalgia and naivety, don't understand what modern capitalism and modern trade relations are. Hankering for something which has gone long past. What you're dealing with is international trade based on neoliberal free market principles with a small carve-out for special and differential treatment for developing countries and for particular kind of commodities. So don't talk to me about building a model inside of your head, which is in the past. I have to take the world as I find it and construct a path for an economy to lift the living standards of the people of this country. I'm not talking any commerce. I'm not talking about who say that I didn't take tests to go to Parliament, and you have a journalist taking a post of a man, a jaundiced political activist, and representing it as truth. Journalism have to lift their game too in this post-colonial economy. They have to lift it. No, I don't have anything against any individual, but we have to do our work properly. Mistakes will be made. Weaknesses are part of life, living, and production, but I'm talking about the trajectory. No. It is clear that while if you're going to build a modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy, and you have to have skills, the first thing you have to do is to have an education revolution. Without that, you can't build it. You think it's an accident that Linsky Douglas is here? He's a son of the education revolution, He got a national scholarship, came first in the exams in 2004, and completed his degree in civil engineering and environmental science in 2008, and subsequently did a master's degree in project management. You think he could be in charge of this project and get it done without the education revolution? I ask you the question. I ain't talking commerce, You hear me? I'm talking real things. And then if you are going to modernize agriculture and fishing, you have to introduce a lot of science and a lot of technology. And that is what we are doing in agriculture and in the fishing industry. Persons who said to me Well, what about bananas? I say yes. In 1992, we exported 79,000 tons of bananas. And we grossed in export earnings nearly $120 million. But at the same time, the poverty in the country is 40%. The spiritual Baptists would say, if I make them kind of point, they say, yeah, hello? Hello? Huh? You cannot go back to an agricultural sector which is based on subsidies at home and very critically market preferences overseas. And you can't go to an agriculture using the same old technologies. You have to have applied science and applied technology. The same thing with fisheries. You can't deal with the fishing industry and have a boat like Peter and James and the other disciples on the Sea of Galilee. Yeah? And intelligent young people have to get into agriculture and get into fishing. Areas where you can make a good living for yourself and your family. And then, of course, if you're making the economy many-sided, more diversified, not only within the existing sectors, but between sectors, you have to go into tourism and services. And part of the building of a post-colonial economy, you had to build Argyle International Airport and a jet airport in Canawan. You see the vision, how it is outlined? Before I came here today, you know, I sat down this morning and read the Book of Galatians. You know why I read it? Because Paul had to confront persons who are thinking in the old way about what they considered an immutable law and wasn't concerned about the new period of grace and of faith, and not just tied in some dogmatic way to the old order. As we're reading it, his letter to the Galatians. So is it there? So is it what I'm talking about? Now, in addition to the international airport at Argyle and the airport, the jet airport in Canawan, and you think that we will have the developments in tourism which we are having, the investments. But Stuart told me that when he came to Argyle International, he said he realized he got invested in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Without that, there would be no sandals beaches happening down at Bookament. In fact, Bookament would not have started if we didn't start the airport at Argyle. And the people at Royal Mill wouldn't be investing the 60 million US there, or the 12 million US which they invest over at La View, the former Grandview. And we wouldn't be crazy enough to go be borrowing money to work with Marriott to build a 200, 250 room hotel down Mount Win. And the same thing out with Holiday Inn Express out at Diamond. And the local investors, you think McDowell, with McDowell Glass, where he built his 40-yard room hotel out at Prospect area, you think he was going to put his money there? Without an international airport? And then you have to deal with the roads. You can't lock off North Windward from the rest of the country. So we had to put the bridge over Raboka. That's part of building a modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy. And that is why we did the roads from customs in Kingston to Fancy. You hear me? Nearly $50 million. Hello? Huh? We had to build the Nelson Mandela Highway. From hospital down to Leo Post Office. CDB helped us build that. So we had to pay back CDB the money. 8 miles of road, $20 million. You think the $14 million which we collect for a vehicle license and the $2 or $3 million for driver's license, you could really build plenty road? Yeah? I telling you how school keeping, you know. You gave me the opportunity to lead this country for 21 years. And I make bold to say, there's nobody in this country who knows school keeping with government and the finances like the man who's talking to you. So we had to improve the road network. Sometimes we have some difficult choices. I gave 61 awards. The 7 national scholarships alone in this guava time is $4 million. You hear me? A fella came to me and thanked me. He said, one of his children get one of the scholarships. He said, boy, I really come to you about comrade. The road going to my house, there's a big pothole. I said, why you prefer me to fill? The pothole in a child head or the pothole in front of your house? Eh? But we had to fit the pothole too. And then we have to have technology, science and technology. We established the Technology Institute, you know. We established that. We borrowed money from the World Bank under CARSIP to set up a particular internet backbone. We borrowed money to do the connectivity with the underground cables, the fiber optic cables. And now we have the digital transformation project between St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and Grenada, building upon the CARSIP with money from the World Bank, borrow money from the World Bank. That's building the modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy. And what we have done in health, refurbished the hospital, did the polyclinics, build other clinics, mental hospital, the Louis Punnett home, because the number of elderly persons in the country increasing as we live longer. All that is part of it. And then what we're doing in sports and culture, and what we're doing with housing, and I will come to that. And vital, we have to build a modern port in order, because we are an import-export country, in order to have a solid marine foundation and the infrastructure there too for the modern competitive post-colonial economy. You see how it's hanging together? And you have to do all this within a democratic framework and free and fair elections. And in the process, I take a lot of cussing, but I still standing. And a lot of men who cost me plenty, they already retire and watch me still standing. And others will retire and watch me still standing. Because nothing is as powerful as the voice of the people, as expressed on election day. I ain't talking about the political equivalent of Melbourne mass band coming downtown. Every now and again, the smallest mass band in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I ain't talking about that, I'm talking about the big demonstration which takes place on election day. That's the demonstration which interests me. Now, in 2015, I wrote it in the manifesto of the ULP that we're going to have a port. The reason why we need this modern port, and I ain't forgetting the housing, but I'm giving you the backdrop first. Right now, Port Kingston, which is 60 years old, we're patching it. It could fall apart any day in the week. And the one which was built down at Camden Park, we shouldn't be patching that the way we have to patch it. And it's too small for our purposes. And I want us to use the port project to make Kingston, the capital city, more beautiful than ever before. Now we started, I put in the manifesto that we're going to do the port in 2015. And say we are doing consultancy. We had Mott MacDonald Consultants. They gave us this report where they told us an international company, originally out of Canada, they operate in England, all over the world. The CDB did the financing for the consultancy, the Caribbean Development Bank. By the way, vital for a modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy is mature regionalism as manifested in the CDB, CARICOM, and the OECS and other institutions, And similarly, for us to have an efficacious foreign policy to better come to terms with our external environment. That's why it led us all the way to the presidency of ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, and to be the smallest member also, not only to hold the presidency of ECOSOC, but to be on the Security Council. You see how everything tying? You oversaw it tying? You have to have the clarity, your vision in your head to do this thing. And this is not something short term, because what we are doing, we, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and under the leadership of the Unity Labour Party government, we are seeking to transform this country from a colonial economy, an amended colonial economy, which had been in existence from 1763 to 2000. And Steve, to do that is not easy. To do that, it is not easy. But we are making amazing steps for it. Along with that, look just down there. People forget Lowmans, Vinlek Lowmans wasn't there, you know. That is the single largest producer of electricity now. 17, 18 megawatts. They didn't even sign the agreement with the European Investment Bank. That was signed under my time. And the expansion of it with other monies, including monies from Venezuela. And the expansion of CWSA. All that is part of what I'm talking about. Telecommunications. The liberalization of telecommunications and the investments which we have put in is all part of this. So, I put it in the manifesto. What did they say when I put it in the manifesto in 2015? What did the opposition say? Ralph is in power for 3 terms. And is now talking about the port. But after 2 terms, we started the consultancy with Mark MacDonald, you know. But what do you want me to do? A building an airport which costs 750 million EC dollars. I have to sequence things, you know. I have to know what I have to do first. But I'm doing things also along the same time because I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Mott MacDonald did their studies. They brought in a report. We had some questions, further information around the costing, and we even asked them. And the CDB agreed with us. We said, let us check and see if we can do something out at Argyle, because we have in the plan to build a modern city at Argyle. That Anna's real sorry. But when they did the study there, the cost of it, because of the depth and the cross currents, was such that it didn't make sense in dollar terms. So we went and we say, your recommendation for down at Rose Place is the one we accept. You have to study this thing carefully first, you know. And their number was around 100 million US. So we begin to look for money. We talk to the CDB. We talk with the British. David Cameron, good man. He was having a Caribbean infrastructure investment initiative. And we say we will take some money from that for this. And in pound sterling, Equivalent now in US dollars is $35 million grant. And I want to thank the British government for that. And I want to thank Theresa May for continuing with that. And I want to thank Boris Johnson for continuing with that. 3 prime ministers there, and 1 here. And we're working together. But when you have that original consultancy, that doesn't tell you yet how the design is going to be. You get a concept. You now have to do the detailed design. And CDB stayed with us. And you had to put out for bids to the design now for the actual port. And when they did the designs, a group called Selhorn is a joint venture. Selhorn HPC Hamburg. Sellhorn. Selhorn HPC Hamburg. And when they went there and did the detailed designs, they said this port is going to cost not 100 million or thereabouts. What Mott MacDonald said is going to be a number closer to 150 million. By that time, CDB is looking at our application, and CDB agreed to lend us just over 100 million US dollars. The largest single sum for a particular project that CDB ever loaned in 50 years of its operation as a bank. That would tell you the confidence that they had in us and in the project. But we had to craft it in a particular way, some in US dollars, some in euros, and we had to hedge. We had to do it creatively. You hear me? But when Selhorn did their job, Selhorn said, listen to me. The 1947 Admiralty charts, for example, which Mott MacDonald used to see the extent broadly as to the quantities of fill and concrete and the like. They say, what don't they? Because when Selhorn HPC Hamburg came, they had to dive. And when they dived down, what the 1947 Admiralty chart said was not there. So you need more filling and you need more concrete, for example. That's one. And then, of course, the price of things go up. But armed with the Selhorn and its partner detailed design, we now have 135, just over $135 million. So we say, well, what remains? If it's 15 or so, a little bit under that, we could catch we hand here and there and scrape it up now. I'm talking US dollars, you know. But so you're armed with Selhorn and you then, that detailed design, you have to go now to the marketplace for the contractors to tell you how much they're going to bid for the construction of that project in accordance with the Selhorn design. And when they came back, the two top bidders, they came back closer to 200 million. Because by then, the marketplace is telling you something different what the armchair consultant's telling you. And that is where we have to negotiate. CDB and ourselves agree that Laura and the CDB and Linsky and everybody on the team to negotiate with the quote-unquote preferred bidders to see how we can trim them down and bring them down. It means, therefore, that we had a gap of $62 million US. Because we have just over 100 from CDB. Assuming all the hedging and everything stay in place. Because it could go either way. Plus the 35 million US from the British government. And as you know, they say the comrade love to beg. It's not begging, you know. You can't just beg. It's not begging. The bandy ways they tell me, you mustn't be afraid to beg. Fisherman bandy ways. Under the United Nations, Sustainable Development Goal number 17, says we must build efficacious global partnerships. And developed countries have to be with us to help to mobilize finance to do things for our development. And I had 3 possible sources to raise the 62 million from. And I raised the 62 from one source. I ain't telling you the source yet. I spoke to the CDB. I wrote the CDB a letter telling them where the source is. And I wrote the British government telling them. And they both confirmed that they got the letters. So we have the financing for it. In addition, I have to find $18 million for equipment because some of the old broke down equipment on the port, I not take them from a new port. You hear me? And I go find that. Don't worry your head. But that's a little further down the road. Now, among the things which we had to do is that we have to make the Port Authority different than it is. We can't run the Port Authority with the structure which you have there. So I made the suggestion, and that suggestion has been accepted by the financiers. We will establish a company, a wholly owned state company, to run the port with quality management of an international level. And there would be the Port Authority existing to deal with the regulation of ports, because there's more than one port in the country. So just like how you have a management for Argyle International Airport, but you have a regulatory agency for civil aviation, it's the same way we will address that. And we had to, there are some preliminary things which we ourselves have to finance. Like we have to deal with the persons who are on the Bayside, who live on the Bayside, which is where this comes in. And it's $4.8 million. You know what they have down there? Linsky brought me the assessment. Sent the assessment with me sometime. I asked him. It's about $250,000. The value of what down there, you know, on the bay side. But here, you get in $4.8 million worth of value. No, I don't want to really get involved in talking about what the representative for West Kingston says. Because, you know, when you're a heavyweight champion, you don't take advantage by dealing with a man who in a different weight class. You know, I don't really like to do that. I don't like to take advantage of people. You ever see a heavyweight champion boxing a man in the middleweight? Eh? No. I'm not doing that. I just want to say, let me just say generally, the spokesperson for the NDP said that what we should do down there is to build a high-rise building and put all 47 families in it. And build a boardwalk so they could walk. And he says that nothing like this would happen up here because they have to do it like that down there. Well, they might do it like that if the people give them a chance. So I told Linsky, I said, Linsky, don't bother on people when people talk foolishness, you know. I said, we build the houses, them up here. You see man and woman who go run for their house here. You want to go in a high-rise building where you don't know how the whole toilet system working. In the corridor, the place ain't cleaning properly. You go to some of them in Brooklyn and in the Bronx in New York City. Yeah? I'm not saying that you can't have condominiums, you know. But people prefer their own little space like how we have it here. You could have a duplex, which means you have a common wall, but you have your own entrance. You have your own key for your door going in. And you have to say that the Housing and Land Development Corporation and the tradesmen did a fantastic job up here and with the 3-bedroom houses down in the valley. Some people may ask, well, what about is everybody accommodated here? Well, there are two persons who said that they have land and they want us to build on the land. And we say, but that is all right. One of them I think is down Layu. Barley, one of them down Barley. By the way, people think that the people who inside on the beach, they all come from Rose Place. That's a big mistake, you know. How much of them come from down there? Huh? Linsky tell me here, only a few. Man come from all about. Man and woman. You hear me? You didn't know that? You think it's just Rose Place people? No. The majority of them ain't got nothing to do with West Kingston as a constituency. And the representative of West Kingston said he talked for all of them. The man who could talk for all of them is Ralph. Because I'm Prime Minister of the whole of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They don't want to hear that? That is what it is. And then there are two others who says they would rather compensation. There are persons down there who have their homes elsewhere, you know. I want you to understand that. But if you're there and you are staying there part of the time, that's fine. We give you a house up here because that's how we are. That's labor. That's labor love. That's how we do it all the time. And then, of course, for the businesses, we will compensate them and we'll deal. The persons with the boat, because they don't actually come from down there, they could pull up the boat anyway, you know. A lot of people don't understand that. And what they're saying, what Linsky told me that they said, they give them compensation, they prefer that. They prefer that than us trying to do something over in Edinburgh. So we'll give them their compensation. And they pull up their boat at different places. Now, housing. There is no government in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that build more houses and carry out a housing revolution like the Unity Labour Party government. None. None. In fact, in nearly 17 years under the NDP, I want you go and find houses across St. Vincent and the Grenadines where NDP built. Julian, tell me 7. Oh, they didn't build them. They didn't build them. The fellow Mongal Singh from Trinidad didn't build them. Yeah? You know, when people talk, they think that you have... If you were running water and don't pay attention to what's happening in the country, you could talk all kind of foolishness, you know. Julian only call out some of the places. I'll repeat where we build. We build houses in Fitzhugh and Peterborough, Peter's Hope, Cumberland. You know the place called Hollywood? Yeah, the people give it name Hollywood, you know. I don't know, Kenyatta, you all fix up the drains them yet for them? You dealing with that? Yes. We build a few, Julian, at Retreat when we build the... At Hope when we build the bridge. The big bridge there. A big settlement at Green Hill, Otley Hall, Brighton, Diamond, Sanssouci, Connery. Julian says South of us, but South of us people who come down to Villa Point. Bayrat, Manning Village, Caratal, Langley Park, Noel, and Lowmans. 17 of them. Plus, one or two others in between here and there. And then we have built hundreds of lives to live houses. Sorry, Clare Valley. Oh, how could I forget Clare Valley? Clare Valley. We have money in the budget to fix up some things in Clare Valley. Because a few nights before the election, I go at the downstairs of a house. And I tell people that I personally going to make sure that some little problems they have there, I go sort it out. And we have money inside of the budget this year to do that. We have built over 2,000 low-income houses. Then we have built hundreds of lives to live. We have repaired hundreds of homes. We have given out millions of dollars of building material. You remember that? I remember one year we giving out building material. We give out building materials on an ongoing basis. And the Christian Council write me, it was an election year, to tell me that we must stop give out building materials because it's an election year. I write them back and ask them what they're talking about. I had to make reference to the book of Matthew. If you need a house, put it over your head. You're a preacher man. You're a pastor, you have a good dwelling. You telling me I must stop, give out materials to take care of people? Eh? Stay in your crease and talk to me about God and don't tell me I must not build house for people. I'll give out materials. I'll give it out every year, and I'll give it out in election year and out of election year. Come on. You know, I don't want you to use any politics and try and cloak it under anything else. These things are not done for election year, you know. They're done all the time. This is not an election year. And look at what is happening. You look in the newspapers, you see the number of applications to the court for the possessory titles, for possessory titles. People couldn't get title for their land. But once they occupy the land for 12 years and they have adverse possession, I set up a procedure under that law. You know the 4 people who draft that law? While I'm Prime Minister, 2 of them gone to the great beyond. And I thank them all the time. Andrew Cummins and Parnell Campbell, Hans Matadiel, and yours truly, Ralph Gonzalez. We are the ones who draft that law. So don't, any kind of, I didn't join politics. I didn't come to politics because I have a grouse against anybody. Either they take away my job or they didn't give me a job again. I didn't come for politics for that, you know. God select me and say, this is what you must do. And he put me through certain trials. And he has favored me through the will of the people. I didn't come to this because of where somebody do me. No. I had a burning love for people in my breast. And God bless my head and guide me to do his work in the political field. Now, we have been doing a lot of training. You go at the community college technical division. You will see the number of persons returning out from there. In the building trades. You see the number of persons who we trained at university in civil engineering and in architecture. Mechanical engineering. Umpteen of them. And they're working all over St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Some in the private sector, others in the government, like Linsky. And he is such a quality engineer, Linsky could make much more money in the private sector than they pay him in government. But I tell you, I love this young man. He has service in him. And he loves people. A good man. Good man. Now, there are things which we have to do with the project. For instance, we have to move the sewerage line. That's something important, and that would be done this year. But all of this work here, coming from our money, you know. No money from CDB is in this. No money from the British government is in this part. But yet, they wanted to be here, and we wanted them to be here because we are partners in this project, which is the second largest project, capital project, in the history of this country. You know, I told the CDB, Isaac would remember this, before he went there, and since the new president and they came, I said, well, you all must stay with me the distance with this one, you know. I say, you all run away from me at the airport. The CDB run away from me at the airport. They say, boy, that's so big. They couldn't contemplate it. The British government run away from me at the airport, you know. The European Union run away from me at the airport, you know. The World Bank run away from me at the airport, you know. Eh? They used to talk among themselves in Barbados. They used to have lunch and say, Ralph is a wonderful fellow, but isn't he a little nutty to think that he can build an airport at Argyle? Yeah. Not only the NDP did think me crazy, you know. Great causes had never been won by doubtful men and women. So I say, well, you weren't with me there. You had to be with me with this big one. 200 million is 540 million EC dollars, you know. 200 million US. Then you are looking at, for the equipment, another 50 million EC. So you're knocking your head up at $600 million. Laura sent me a note and told me it would be about 604 million or something like that. But we're hoping to save some money in ways which we're talking. Could you imagine one government build an airport for $750 million? We build the Raboka Bridge. We build the Modern Medical Diagnostic Center for $50 million. We're building the port for nearly $600 million. And we're building the acute referral hospital for $200 million EC dollars. I had a discussion with the World Bank on the hospital out there for the Annisville. I said to them, you stayed with me with selecting the site. You stayed with me to do the design. I said, you weren't with me at the airport. You can't leave me alone with this big one. They wanted to be involved in the port, you know. As the British would tell you, as Linksy will tell you, as the CDB will tell you. I said, no. I don't want you at the port. I want you at the hospital. They said that, well, it's only 60 million US they could go with me at the hospital. I said, well, I will try to see if you can go a little further, because the hospital first thought it might have been 55 million. Then it went through issues with the design and then increasing cost of materials, ballooning, went to 70, and then we had to, with the equipment, 80 million. I'm trying to get everybody to be on the same page for us to go to the board of the World Bank in May to have the approval. But last year with Sufri, we had some money put aside from them. And they say, use it with Sufri, and we'll give you back in May. They told Camilo that word amount. I said, Camilo, tell them to write me a letter. Because you see, the person who tell you word amount might be there today, but might be there tomorrow. And the one who give you the word amount might not have tell the person who come in after them, what did they tell me? But if you give me a letter, well, we have an agreement. And every one of these projects, instead of the opposition trying to provide support, they're always trying to see if they could create confusion. You notice I ignore them these days? You know why? After a while, if you just want to create confusion, why must I bother with you? Eh? And if in order to get my bill passed, I had to move one senator and take back Rennie for the time being, I could do it to get the bill passed so I could unlock the money for poor people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we're doing all these things with suffering and COVID. I want to tell you with the housing with suffering. At the end of last year, we have repaired nearly 200 houses. 140-something up at in the North Windward area, and nearly 50 down Leeward. We are working on finishing 27 houses to give to people in Orange Hill. Randy is working on that, doing a fantastic job in housing and in social development. He's a good young man, Randy Brewster. And then Gomri is working with the old school in Sandy Bay. And we're refitting that with 24 units for old people who are still in shelters. And then we're working with the Musty Company. And you'll see the rollout shortly for that for 41 houses. Because we have to address about 700 houses. And in terms of moving people, or people who get their houses completely destroyed, is about 170 which we have to do. And we're doing all that with our money. Except the part where we're working with the Musty Company on the 41 houses. I want to say something. I want to say to you, some of you who operate boat down in Rhodes Place, you may have a structure, not on the beach, but on the side and across the road. You can't get one of these houses because you're not on the beach. You could get help. You come to me or you go to Randy Brewster. We could help you on that different project, but not under this one. And if you have your kitchen on the side of the beach and you have a storeroom, well, we go compensate you for that. But if you don't have a house on the beach, not because we're giving out houses, and you in the area want a house, you come and say you want a house up here. It don't work so. This is for the relocation for those where the project is. But we always help the poor, the indigent, with their houses. Always, as we have just demonstrated to you. All what I'm talking about. You see this manifesto of 2020? It's inside of there, you know. All what I'm talking about in here, you know. And when you voted for me and the Unity Labour Party, you vote for this. This is my bond with you. And this is what I'm implementing. This is what I'm implementing. And if you come and tell me, no. You can't do that. We are suggesting you do so and so. I'm saying to you, you can't come and tell me what I must do when you lose. That's democracy. Yeah? You can talk it to the parliament, and if you say something which makes sense, I go listen, and I would say, well, you know, so and so say something there, you know, we could incorporate that idea. But don't come to me and tell me, you're the opposition and you govern. You remember? The NDP say that without them, no houses could be built here. I don't know if they control the land. They say without them, the port can't build. You ever hear crazy people like that since you're born? Just like they tried to stop the Argyle International Airport. Just like they try to undermine everything progressive that we do. I am so happy that we are all here today. This is a day that the Lord has made. We have to rejoice in it. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister Gonzalez, and that address was everything I expected, giving quite the context within which this project is being done. Just to say, Isaac Solomon wanted me to convey, he asked me to do it nicely, that while those lunchroom discussions were happening, he took his lunch in his office. So he wasn't a part of those discussions at all. He's not a part of those discussions. We would now move to the cutting of the ribbon, which would be done by Prime Minister Gonzalez. But what I would do the vote of thanks first. So as I call the individual representative here, Dr. Gonzalez and Minister Brewster would do the handing over. Dr. Gonzalez would do the first two, and the Minister of Housing would do the remainder. Ms. Ulrika Telemark. All right, thank you. Mr. Simo George. Simo George. Thank you very much.
So my brother-in is getting one of the 3 bedrooms.
Thank you. All right, let me invite Minister Brewster. Ms. Naomi Patterson.
Vincent me come from, and I will never sell out my heritage. So if you're looking for me, don't worry, you can find me up in the hills. I'm doing it the Vincy way. I wish every day was Vincy day.
Miss Lisa Jack and Tevin John. Mr. Wayne Stanley. Thank you. Miss Kamisha F. Brown.
Mountains, man, woman, Vincent, hands up high,
Brown. Mr. Ellis E. Matthews, our representative. Mr. Henry O'Neill. And Mr. Javon Welcome. No Lance Neverson, no. Maybe it's in the other list. Now the other individuals, or families of the representatives aren't here, but the list is there. However, let me invite Mr. Douglas to give a brief of what is in the envelopes so we can understand what happened here today.
Thanks, Sion. So these letters outline, confirms the offer of the lot which the project affected resident would have selected on Wednesday last. It details the procedure that we will follow to have the utilities, CWSA water and Vinlec connected. We also have to sign an occupancy agreement for the structure. Once those three items are completed, then the resident will receive his key and then can relocate over to Lowmans. We anticipate that this process would take up to at least the end of March of this year. Okay? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. So there are a number of other individuals. Let me just quickly, I'm asked to read the names out quickly. We have Innsworth Roberts, Anne-Mary Harry, Conroy S. Carter, Curtis Colin King, Dylan Bob, Ezra McHenry Ned, Glenda Belgrave and Vibert Williams, Gregory Doyle, Jamal Moore, Kenesha A.A. Prince, Kenique I.R. Belgrave, O'Keith Lee, Patrick George, Raymond Jack, Saville W. Thomas, Selwyn Harry, Wendell C. Garraway, Yashima Patrick. All of these individuals would have a one bedroom duplex. 2 bedrooms, Christiana Cyrus, Dean Alano Hutchins, Hermina Williams Jack, Orlando Belgrave, Fillmore Power, Roxanne Brown, Sharon McPhee, Sonia Belgrave, and Tashika Belgrave. And the 3-bedroom standalone homes, Leon Harry, Nakisha Telemac, Sandra Diane Jack, Simo George, Shari Belgrave Haywood, and Suzette D. Young. Congratulations to all of the individuals. Please give them a round of applause. So now I'll raise the vote of thanks before we have the cutting of the ribbon. On behalf of the Project Management Unit, the Ministry of Seaports, let me thank Dr. Gonzalez for, actually there's somebody to do the vote of thanks. So let me invite Mrs. Shari Roberts Duggan, who's a project officer at the Ministry of Urban Development, to do the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. Please allow me to adopt the protocols that has been established. I am honored to be invited to give the vote of thanks at this handing over ceremony which highlights an important step towards further development of our nation. William Arthur Ward penned, "Gratitude can transform common days into thanksgiving, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings." In light of this, we must first thank Almighty God for his continued mercies and grace towards us, and more so, the completion of these homes for the affected families by the project. A hearty thank you to the Housing and Land Development Corporation, HLDC, and contractors who spearheaded the construction of these homes, making it possible today. Thank you to BRAXA, Roads, Buildings, and General Services Authority for the great input on the project. To the utility providers, CWSA and VINLEC, thank you as you worked assiduously to ensure that utilities were installed on time for today. We take this opportunity to thank Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves, the Prime Minister, for the feature address, which reminded us the reason for the construction of the new port. Honorable Minister Francis, Minister of Urban Development, Energy, Airports, Seaports, Grenadines Affairs and Local Government, His Excellency Mr. Steve Moore, Resident British High Commissioner, and Mr. Isaac Solomon, Vice President for Operations, Caribbean Development Bank, for their remarks. Additionally, we say thank you to Mr. Lenski Douglas, Assistant Project Manager, for giving an overview of the Port Development Project, and by extension, the Board Steering Committee for the Port's Modernization Project. Thank you to Mrs. Neva Cordis, Pastor of the Wesleyan Holiest Church, for the opening prayer, and Mr. Delano Bristol for the National Anthem and musical entertainment. We express appreciation to the media, especially Ms. Jennifer Richardson, for the coverage of today's event, along with the organizers who prepared the site for this handing over ceremony. Thank you to Mr. Sion Marshall, Press Secretary, for fulfilling the duties of Master of Ceremony at today's event. And in closing, we say congratulations, as this is indeed a memorable event for the new homeowners as they take up occupancy at this beautiful location here at Lowmans Bay. Thank you again to everyone for attending today's ceremony, and we wish you a safe travel at home. Thank you.
Second only, of course, to the Agal International Airport, and this is estimated to cost around $600 million, this project. So we are viewing the preparation for the cutting of the ribbon. The Prime Minister is in place, and Ms. Patterson is also in place. They are cutting, and I guess there will be a little countdown. We are counting down. And she has, there you go, the ribbon has been cut to signal that the Prime Minister is getting his piece of the ribbon as well. Yes, he is getting his piece. He has given that to Ms. Patterson, and he is cutting another piece. I guess these would be keepsakes, yes. Yes, so there we have it, the cutting of the ribbon to signal the handing over of these houses to the residents of Rose Place. Of course, they did not get the actual keys today. They will be getting those soon. But we saw 9 persons receiving letters of confirmation, which basically explains that they would have received their chosen lot. It would also explain the procedure for utility connection. And of course, they have been given a deadline for relocation, which is March 31st. So they have about 2 months, give or take, to get themselves in order. Oh, the Prime Minister is signing that piece of the ribbon for Mrs. Patterson. Lovely. Yes, so she has her piece of ribbon signed by the Honorable Prime Minister. And I know she's going to keep that for a very long time. Now they have opened the door of this particular house, and they are inside taking a tour, looking around. Of course, many of these houses are duplexes, 1 bedroom, and you also have 2 and 3 bedroom houses. So each person receive their own space. Yes, they have gone in, they are coming back out. Prime Minister accompanied by Naomi Patterson. And of course, he is stopping to chat.